streaming service, Dark and Twisted TV, with exclusive animated horror series for members only, featuring My Girlfriend Wants to Kill Me, Her Blood on My Hands, and coming soon, the never-before-seen My Girlfriend Wants to Kill Me, the prequel, which will show how David and Crazy Mary first met. Other fans have already signed up. Don't be left out, or you'll never know how My Girlfriend Wants to Kill Me and Her Blood on My Hands ends. Link in the description. Don't be left in the dark. Join today. A dark and twisted true story. Me and my friend Donnie had drove up to his parents' cabin for the weekend. Being the practical jokers that we were, we decided to pull a prank on some random guy on Twitter just for shits and giggles. We started sending him insulting tweets to his Twitter account, but little did we know this man was not to be fucked with. Listen here, you little shits. I know where you are, and I'm going to kill you. At first, we thought he was just bullshitting, so we laughed, gave him the middle finger, signed off, then went to bed. The next night, we went hiking in the woods, which was the biggest mistake of our lives. Donnie told me that he had to take a piss and would be back in a few minutes. Then, all of a sudden, I heard screaming. "Quit fucking around," I yelled, just thinking he was bullshitting around as usual. 10 minutes had passed and he still hadn't came back yet, so I yelled out to him. "Hurry the fuck up," I said. I finally said screw it and went looking for him. The good news is I did find him. The bad news, he was in pieces. Then, out of nowhere, I heard something behind me. When I turned around, it was a man just standing there with a meat cleaver in his hand. "Your turn." I never ran so fast in my life, and thank God I got away. But my friend Donnie wasn't so lucky. A dark and twisted true story. I met this woman on TikTok named Jenny, who seemed rather nice even though she posted odd and strange videos. She offered for me to come over to her house for a TikTok party to celebrate the app. for the moonlight that seeped through the window. Then I received a text message that said, "Do you like hide and seek?" "Sure I do, I guess," I replied. "Then come find me," she said. I was having second thoughts, but for some stupid reason, I agreed to play the game and went searching for her. It was so dark that I had to feel my way through, which led me to the basement, which had a foul odor that mimicked the stench of rotting flesh. And then a voice came from the darkness. "Looks like you found me," she said. And when I flashed my cell phone, there she was, sitting with a bloody axe in her hands, and nailed to the walls were dead and mutilated bodies. "What the actual fuck?" I said as I ran out of the house and called the cops. Come to find out, she was a mentally disturbed woman who used the app to lure men to her basement to kill them. A dark and twisted true story. I always warned my elderly mother about putting too much information on Facebook, but being older and stuck in her ways, she ignored my warning. There was one man that she grew fond of, and that's when her online dating began. One night, my mother came barging in to my living room in panic, telling me that the man that she had met on Facebook was trying to kill her. And to make matters worse, she said he had followed her to my house and that we needed to call the cops right away. Then, all of a sudden, there was a banging on my door, followed by the sounds of a man's voice saying, "Open this fucking door right now." "Come on," I said as we ran to my room and locked the door. I tried to call the cops, but my cell phone was dead. Then he kicked in my bedroom door as he aimed his gun in our direction. We both said our goodbyes because we knew we were going to die. The man started yelling with his temper rising by the second, and right before he shot the bullet, he collapsed to the ground, dead from a heart attack. My mother explained that she had switched his heart medication for sugar pills because she knew he was going to kill her. Usually, I wouldn't wish death upon anyone, but this guy was clearly an exception. A dark and twisted true story. I was driving home from a party when I ran out of gas in the middle of nowhere. I had forgotten my cell phone, so I decided to hitch a ride. As the car approached me, the window slowly rolled down as a deep and gritty voice said, "Get in." So I got in, shut the door, and we were on our way. 10 minutes had passed and he hadn't said a word, so to strike up a conversation, I asked him his plans for the new year. He explained that he was having a hard time because his longtime girlfriend had just broke up with him. To make him feel better, I told him there was more fish in the sea. Then, all of a sudden, I heard thumping coming from the trunk. "What the fuck was that?" I asked, but he just made up a lie and said it was his motor acting up. Then, there it was again, but this time stronger, and it sounded like something or someone was kicking. I begged him to pull over, but he ignored my request and headed toward a field where there was a hole in the ground and a shovel next to it. As the car came to a halt, he got out, then walked to the rear and popped the trunk, and that's when the gunshots rang out as he fell to the ground, dead from a gunshot wound to the head. And there she was, his ex-girlfriend, with a rifle in her hand, a hunting rifle that the man had left in his trunk. A dark and twisted true story. After killing the man who once was her boyfriend, the cops came, then took down the report, then offered to take us home. During the ride, she told me that her now dead boyfriend was the overly jealous type and had threatened to kill her multiple times until one day she got fed up and left. She claimed that he kidnapped her one night and placed her in the trunk of his car, but thankfully he forgot about the gun in his trunk. She then told me that she was pretty shooken up and didn't want to go home alone. So me, being the good guy that I am, I offered for her to spend the night at my place in my spare room. She smiled, then thanked me as we arrived at my house. 2 weeks had passed and we started to have feelings for one another. So we ended up dating and moving in together, and everything was just peachy. One night I was putting up some of her things when a book fell out of the box and onto the floor. It was her diary. I know it was an invasion of privacy, but I had to find out who I was getting involved with. But what I wasn't expecting to find out within the pages was a confession and instructions for murder. She had been plotting for months to marry her boyfriend and soon after kill him for the $1 million insurance policy. The scariest part was how she was going to kill him. She was into voodoo and was planning to cast a spell to end his life. He found out about her plan and knew the only way to get rid of someone with such powers was to bury her alive on a full moon. And that's why she was in the trunk of his car. Then, all of a sudden, the door slammed behind me. I see you found out about my little secret, and now I have to kill you too. To be continued. A dark and twisted true story. Me and my girlfriend was so excited that we had just moved in to our new apartment, and it seemed that the neighborhood was safe from crime and weirdos, but that would soon change for the worse. One night, while my girlfriend was cooking dinner, she could sense that someone was watching. And when her eyes shifted toward the window, there he was, an old man, just staring at her with a creepy, dark, and twisted smile. What the actual fuck, she yelled. Then he knocked on the window. When she asked him if she could help him with something, he explained that he was our new neighbor and that he wanted to welcome us to the neighborhood. Being polite, she smiled, then thanked him, and that was that. The next day, while she was sunbathing on the patio, she could feel eyes upon her, and once again, it was the creepy man from next door. She screamed at the top of her lungs, but by the time I came out, he was gone. Later that night, I called the landlord and told him about Mr. Creepy Ass, and he promised us that he would have a talk with him, which made us feel much better. So we said goodnight, then went to bed. Then, all of a sudden, I heard my girlfriend scream. When I opened my eyes, there he was at the foot of our bed, just staring at us. I yelled at him to get the fuck out of our apartment, which he did, but before he left, he handed my girlfriend an envelope, and inside of that envelope was a Valentine's Day card saying, "I love you, Margaret," which of course creeped us out, so we called the cops. Come to find out, my girlfriend was the spitting image of his dead wife when she was her age, and he thought that my girlfriend was her